My life was a well-oiled machine. You know what I'm talking about. Every day was scheduled. Every minute had a purpose. I built my empire from the ground up, starting with nothing but a dream and a whole lot of hustle. Now, I had it all. The big house, the fancy cars, the respect of my peers. From the outside, it looked perfect. I had a beautiful wife, Amelia, and my pride and joy, my 10-year-old daughter, Lily. I worked hard to give them everything I never had. I thought providing was the most important job a man could have. I believed that as long as the bills were paid and the fridge was full, everything else would just fall into place. I'd leave before the sun came up. I'd kiss Lily on her forehead while she was still sleeping. She was my heart, that little girl. She had her mother's eyes, my first wife, who we lost too soon. Amelia came into our lives a few years later. I thought she was a blessing. She was kind to me, and I assumed that kindness extended to my daughter when I wasn't around. My schedule was brutal, I admit it. Long days at the office turned into long nights full of meetings and conference calls. I came home late, usually after Lily was already in bed. I was running on fumes, chasing success, thinking that was the best way to be a good father. Looking back, I see I was just a visitor in my own home. I was the guy who paid for everything but didn't really live there. I trusted that things were running smoothly. Amelia would tell me how wonderful her day was with Lily. She'd say they went shopping or baked cookies. I saw the smiles and heard the happy stories, and I believed them. Why wouldn't I? I wanted to believe them. It made the long hours feel worthwhile. It made the sacrifice feel right. I was building a legacy, I told myself. But I was building it on a foundation I never bothered to check for cracks. My routine was the same every single day. Wake up, work out, head to the office, conquer the world, and come home exhausted. Today, September 28th, 2025, was supposed to be just another Tuesday. I had a big international deal closing, a real game changer. The final meeting was scheduled for 7 p.m. I told Amelia not to wait up. I told Lily I'd see her in the morning. I walked out that door just like any other day, completely blind to the storm that was brewing inside the beautiful walls of the house I had built. I had no idea my whole world was about to get turned upside down. The big meeting got canceled. Can you believe that? The guys from Tokyo had a flight delay. My whole evening just opened up. My first thought was, great, I can get a head start on tomorrow's paperwork. But then something else hit me. A better idea. I could go home. I could surprise Lily. Maybe we could play a game or watch a movie. It had been too long. I felt a little spark of excitement I hadn't felt in a long time. I told my driver to take me home. I was smiling the whole way, imagining the look on Lily's face when I walked in 5 hours early. It was a simple thing, but it felt huge. We pulled into the driveway, and I told my driver he could take the rest of the night off. I walked up to the front door, quiet as a mouse. I was ready to yell surprise. I put my key in the lock, but it was already unlocked. That was strange. Amelia was always so careful about locking the doors. I pushed the door open gently. The house was quiet. Too quiet. There was no TV on, no music playing. All I could hear was a faint voice coming from the kitchen. It was Amelia. But the tone of her voice sent a chill right down my spine. It wasn't the sweet, happy voice I knew. I tiptoed down the marble hallway, my heart starting to pound in my chest. Something felt wrong, deeply wrong. As I got closer to the kitchen, I could hear another sound. It was someone crying, a soft, terrified little sob. It was Lily. My blood ran cold. I peeked around the corner, hiding myself from view. What I saw shattered my entire world into a million pieces. My sweet Lily was on her hands and knees, scrubbing the floor with a tiny sponge. There was a broken glass and spilled milk on the pristine white tiles. Her little shoulders were shaking as she cried. And there was Amelia standing over her like a prison warden. Her face was twisted into an ugly, cruel sneer I had never seen before. "I told you to be more careful, you clumsy little brat," Amelia hissed. "Now you will clean every last drop and you won't get any dinner. Maybe that will teach you to stop being so useless." She kicked the bucket of water closer to Lily, splashing soapy water onto my daughter's dress. My mind couldn't process it. This was not the woman I married. This was a monster, and she was terrorizing my child, my baby girl. In that moment, everything stopped. The air left my lungs. The noise of the world just faded away. All I could see was my daughter's face, streaked with tears and fear. My little girl, who I was supposed to protect from everything, was being treated worse than an animal in her own home, by the woman I had brought into her life. The guilt hit me like a freight train. It wasn't just anger at Amelia, it was a deep, soul-crushing anger at myself. How could I have been so blind? How could I have been so stupid? All the signs I must have missed, all the little clues I ignored because I was too busy. I watched Lily's tiny hands scrub that floor, her body trembling. She didn't say a word. She just cried silently, trying to make herself as small as possible. It was like she was used to this. That thought broke me more than anything. This wasn't the first time. This was her normal, her reality when I wasn't there. The happy stories Amelia told me were all lies, the shopping trips, the baking sessions, all a performance for my benefit. I had failed. As a man, as a husband, but most importantly, as a father. I had given my daughter a beautiful house but not a safe home. My first instinct was to rush in there and scream, to unleash a storm of fury on Amelia that would shake the very foundations of the house. I wanted to make her feel as small and as scared as she was making my daughter feel. My fists were clenched so tight my knuckles were white. But then I looked at Lily again. If I exploded, it would just scare her more. She was already caught in a war zone. She didn't need to see another battle. She needed a rescue. She needed her dad. Not a monster to fight a monster. She needed a hero. So I took a deep breath. I forced myself to be calm. I had to handle this right. Not for me, not for Amelia, but for Lily. My anger was a fire, but I had to control it. I had to turn it into a tool, not a weapon of mass destruction. I had to be smart. I had to be calculated. My daughter's future, her happiness, her very spirit, depended on what I did in the next 5 minutes. This wasn't a business deal. This was my life's most important negotiation, and I could not, would not, lose. The love for my daughter was stronger than any rage I felt. I stepped out from behind the wall. I didn't say a word. I just walked into the kitchen. The sound of my leather shoes on the marble floor was the only sound. Amelia's head snapped up. The cruel mask on her face vanished in an instant. It was replaced by pure shock, then panic. Her eyes went wide. "James! You're home early!" she stammered, trying to force a smile. It was the fakest thing I had ever seen. She looked from me to Lily, who was still on the floor, frozen, looking up at me with wide, tear-filled eyes. I didn't even look at Amelia. My eyes were locked on my daughter. I walked straight to Lily and knelt on the floor beside her, right in the puddle of milky water. I didn't care about my expensive suit. I gently took the sponge from her little hand. "It's okay, sweetheart," I said, my voice soft but firm. "Daddy's here now. You don't have to do this anymore." I pulled her into my arms and held her tight. She buried her face in my shoulder and started to sob, not silently this time, but with loud, heart-wrenching cries. It was the sound of a dam breaking. All the pain she had been holding in was finally coming out, and I just held her, letting her know she was safe. "James, what is going on?" Amelia said, her voice trembling with a mix of fear and fake indignation. She was being clumsy, and I was just teaching her a lesson about responsibility. I slowly stood up, still holding Lily in my arms. I finally turned to look at my wife. The man she saw was not the tired, distant husband she was used to. She saw a father whose entire world had been threatened. "A lesson?" I said, my voice dangerously quiet. "You call this a lesson? I call this abuse. And it ends. Tonight." Her face went pale. She knew the game was over. "You don't understand," she started to plead. "She's a difficult child. I held up my hand to stop her. "No, I am the one who didn't understand. I didn't understand what was happening in my own house. But I understand now. Perfectly." I looked around the pristine kitchen, at the perfect house, and then back at her. "Amelia, you have 5 minutes to pack a small bag," I said, my voice leaving no room for argument. "My driver will take you to a hotel. My lawyer will contact you in the morning. You will not spend another night under this roof. You will not speak to my daughter again. We are done." Amelia stood there speechless. She opened her mouth, then closed it. The fight was gone. She saw the look in my eyes, and knew there was no appeal. This decision was final. Without another word, she turned and walked out of the kitchen. I didn't watch her go. My focus was on the precious girl in my arms. I carried Lily upstairs to her room, my heart aching with every step. I had filled her room with dolls and toys, but what she really needed was me. I sat her on her bed and knelt in front of her. I wiped the tears from her cheeks with my thumb. "I am so sorry, Lily," I whispered, my own voice thick with emotion. "I'm so sorry I didn't see it. Daddy was working too much. I was so busy and I let you down. That will never ever happen again. You are the most important thing in the world to me. Do you understand?" She just nodded, her big eyes searching mine. "Is she really gone?" she asked in a tiny voice. "Yes, baby girl," I said. "She's gone. It's just you and me now, and I promise from this day forward, I'm going to be the dad you deserve." A small, real smile finally appeared on her face. It was like seeing the sun after a long storm. That night I didn't do any paperwork. I didn't take any calls. I ordered us pizza and we ate it sitting on the living room floor. We watched her favorite cartoon movie, and she fell asleep with her head in my lap. I just sat there for hours, stroking her hair, guarding her sleep. I had spent years building an empire of glass and steel, but I had almost let my own family crumble. I learned a hard lesson that day. Success isn't about the size of your bank account or the number of buildings with your name on them. True success is about the people you love. It's about showing up. That night was the beginning of our new life. I changed everything. I rescheduled my life around my daughter. I made it home for dinner. I helped her with her homework. I went to her school plays. I learned how to be a father again. It wasn't easy, but it was the most rewarding work I have ever done. Sometimes you have to have your world fall apart to see how to put it back together the right way. You got to have the courage to protect what matters, because at the end of the day, family is the only real legacy. It's the only empire worth building.